The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ulf Persson from the Strategic Product Management team. I'm here with Michael Reber today. We're going to provide you with the latest, greatest on the roadmap and what we're delivering around the business platform, the BIS platform. I apologize. We had some hiccups here, so we're a few minutes late, and I hope that will not disturb the session too much. As always, we try to make this interactive as much as we can do. We will send you obviously the presentation and the recording of this as before, and as you usually do. Please provide questions in the question chat, the box, so to say, and at the end of this, there's a short survey, and of course, we're always interested to hear your feedback. So let's keep running through this. Michael, obviously the information in here is related to our overall roadmap for the BIS platform. As before, we present this following five pillars, so to say. It's related to user experience, improvement around integration capabilities, technology advantage, operational cost reduction, and then deployment. And obviously we look at what has been done and what has been packaged up and delivered during the last 3 service packs and for the future. And with having said that, I hand it over to you, Michael. Please take it away. And if there are questions along the way, I will try to bring those up, not to disturb you. So thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Ulf. So welcome, everybody. My name is Michael Reber. I'm Technical Product Manager here at SEEBURGER, and I have the honor to guide you through the slide deck today and do some demos with the product in a live fashion. Today we're talking about increments delivered in Q3 of 2024, which is 67159 to 67162. And the next time when we'll meet, we'll talk about the interval to 67166. If you are a follower of the previous sessions, then you probably noticed that we have a new entry on this slide, which is called BIS Transfer Server. And I would like to use the opportunity here to explain that with 162, the BIS Transfer Server, formerly known as working title Mailbox, is in ramp-up phase, and it will be generally available up until or somewhere in between 67162, which is released just recently, and 67166. So what you're seeing might change a little, but I will get into some more details later on when we do a demo about this feature. Okay, so what did we achieve in the last quarter? So there's 24 features in user experience, 13 integration capabilities, 6 in technology advantage, operational cost reduction, deployment models combined, 24, and of course the security category with 26. Today we will have 3 demo sessions. I will start in the middle with the integration capabilities, and I already told you that we will have a look at the BIS file transfer server and what is this about and how can you use it. And in the area of operational cost reduction, we will have not a sneak peek, but a short intro into automated testing. We just reached another milestone for the CI/CD capabilities of our Maven plugins, and would just like to use the opportunity today to give you a short and brief overview of what you can do with a small demo. And then in the area of user experience, we have a list of roughly 10 features, and as in the previous 2 quarterly updates, we got a very good resonance about the small features that have changed across the platform. We thought, let's do that again. And if you feel that this helps you a lot, we will continue with that. So we would love to hear about whether you liked it or not in the survey after the presentation. And if you have some more ideas, or maybe you want to have a deep dive in a certain area, which we just scratched on the top of it, so to speak, or just had a small glimpse of it, then feel free to mention it there, and we will do our very best to either do a BIS 6.7 in action, meet the expert, or maybe pick it up in one of the next quarterly sessions. Okay, that brings us already to the first category, which is user experience. Now, I already said that we will have a demo in here, so I will only briefly go over what we have here. And one of the major points that I want to point out here is the simplified reorganization of configuration. Now, sounds like very, very complicated, but to be honest, formerly it was really, really hard to do it. So you had to think of, how do I reorganize my files? Which process states do I reorganize? And how long are they available? And what about if I use data store, or if I use just the attachment storage and stuff like that? So what we did is we simplified the whole thing. So everything is now in one time frame, and you can select it there. And to make your life even easier, we have created a migration step that allows you to migrate your current configuration, see what we can derive from that, and then you have a simple solution to reorganize your runtime data, etc. In the file viewer area, which we will have a demo right now, we are, probably have noticed that, adding a lot of renderers for certain scenarios. So for example, previously we had an interactive JSON viewer where you could collapse and reformat things in a very interactive way. And most of you were saying, okay, that's really nice, but isn't it possible to have a simple text view on that? So I can just search in there and copy things without having all this Sonderzeichen, those special characters. And yeah, we did that. There's a global configuration possible for you, so you can switch between the interactive and the simple text variant. And we also have added a new edifact render, which allows you to better see the UNA to UNT sections within a multi-message edifact, for example, and with line highlighting, jumping, and searching in there as well. In the BIS Mapping Designer, we got a lot of feedback that it's really, really nice that you can now use the OpenAI ChatGPT into the BIS Mapping Designer, which is really good. But we have an Azure corporate account, and we are using the Azure variant of OpenAI there, and this seems not to work. So could you please make it happen? And yeah, for sure. So we enabled the Azure OpenAI system to be used within our BIS Mapping Designer. There was just some small changes in the interface and authentication, so that's available now in the Mapping Designer as well. BIS Mapping Designer, sorry. And that brings us already to the first demo, enhancements across the BIS platform. This today is separated into several smaller sections. So first section will be about file viewer and attachments. The second area will be about screen real estate inside the navigator and how searches work. And then we will go on with UMS and portal features to round this all up. So all in all, roughly like 10 parts. So let's just directly dive into it. So let's log into our platform. And the first thing I want to show you is all about the edifact file viewer and in the functionality within message tracking. So let's open the search and then select the right processes and the right partner, and then let's search for that. And you probably all know this search. Now we are going through and searching for the B2B partners, and I selected them in the direction incoming with the automotive custom partner 1, because I know that they have a multi-UNH edifact file in there as incoming file. And if we go down to the attachment section where you can have a look at the source, target, and the print view of the area, If you click on source, you will see the new file viewer plugin, so to speak. And now you see that there is just a line in between, or an empty line between every message within the edifact message. And when you enable the lines in there, you see the highlighted part in there. So when you scroll through, you exactly know when something starts and when another message, when this message starts and when the message stops. Of course, you can jump to a certain line and search in there, so everything is in there, and download the file as well. And if you have a look at the file itself, so what you're seeing there is a formatted version of it. The real file itself is just a one-liner with no CRLF as delimiters or whatever. So if you download it, you are still with the original file. And if you need it, for example, for a colleague and copy it in a formatted way, you can just drag and drop, or not drag and drop, copy and paste, and put it into, for example, an email or whatever, and you get your formatted variant, rather than having to copy the thing and maybe open it in the BIS mapper or a custom file viewer. Now, speaking about attachments, let me close that real quick. We also made it easier to transfer files or get, let's say, a small zip with all attachments of certain processes that you have in your message tracking. So let's, for example, select those 6. And you, of course, can select also all. And when you click on actions and then download all attachments, what it will do is it will take all the source attachments, the target attachments, and additional attachments that you have in there, and we'll put it into a zip. And if you look in it, let me just extract that real quick into my temp folder. There we go. And then, oh, I extracted it into the wrong directory. Doesn't make no big deal. So you have an Excel file, which when you open it, contains the entries in the table with the tracking ID, the file names, the state, and stuff like that. And of course, you have a link in here that reference to the attachments folder that was in the zip file. And when you click on that, you can, after accepting that you are sure that what you're doing, you can, of course, directly jump into the file. So there is no like process 1, you have to select the one with the UUID and the date so-and-so. You can just give the package to a colleague or attach it to, for example, a ticket system, even in our helpline, and then the one that it's addressed to can work on it and does not have to look through, maybe selects the wrong file, and this all makes the process longer. We adjust that with this feature. Let me just close that real quick and then go back into the browser. And of course, if that is now message tracking, but also in process monitoring, the attachment handling has been improved. So for example, if you want to pass over, let me just open the process inspector, pass over the attachments of a process, you can go into the process inspector, and then on the top right, you have this save button. And what happens then is it will generate a zip file. Let me just open it real quick. Attach the interactive version of the process inspector that you have on the result on the within the application, and also add all attachments which are stored in the runtime data of this process. And of course, when you open that one, you have this button on the top right where you can jump to the attachments, select them, and open them in the same fashion. So just take that zip, send it to your colleague, attach it to a ticket system, or use it on your own computer in an offline fashion, and you can work on that and do not have the problem that you have to store them somewhere. It's all in one package for a certain topic. Again, we're still staying with attachments. If we go to the control center, we formally had a demo about the interactions. Let me just look for BIC real quick. I prepared a mapping that we can run in the interactions. It's called attachment demo. And then upload a file. So I have an edifact file. Maybe when we open it later on, you will see what it is. And if we have executed that, before version 159, I think it was, you had to go into the process monitor to see the results. So you got a report here whether it was okay or not, whether there was an error, the log stream and stuff like that, but you were not able to open the attachments. And as we can do that and have a file view of everything, so when we just click on the link here, which is now an interactive link, you will get a new tab in which you will get the payload displayed. And this works for the response and also for the request. So if we, for example, look here, that was the edifact file that I just uploaded. And if you remember that, that was the edifact file that we used or had from the message tracking example with the U2 messages within. Those were the attachment parts. And this, of course, makes it easier when you know that the file viewer everywhere is the same, but just small changes to the platform, but probably in your daily business will help a lot. Now, jumping to the master data navigator, which was the next section that we have. And one of the biggest or the most requested things that we got is, hey, that's totally cool that we have a tree on the left and we can navigate through because we know how our system is set up and stuff like that. And we have this table on the right, which we can filter and we can sort and stuff like that. But why did you not enable this? Just use this as a search term. We use it in the file transfer server immediately. Why do I have no table in here? And this was one of the points in the user experience that we said, harmonize this, make it the same. And on the other side, others said, oh, that's really nice. I like those tiles. But yeah, for sure, a table would be nice. So with this button now, you can select between the list view and the details view. And when you click on details view, you have the table, and it also stores the selection. So next time you search, you get the right representation, how you prefer to use it in the master data navigator. Another thing that is not really master data navigator related, but probably happens to you as well. So just imagine the use case or the scenario. You're doing something, then you get a call from a colleague, and you have to do something real quick, or maybe pass by in another office. And then you come back and you get the message that your session timed out. So I have to do some magic here to let's force the session to be invalidated. So what I just did, you should normally not have to do, but you know probably this screen. So your session has expired, all unsafe changes will not be applied. Please log in again to continue. Now, before 159, you got the last application again when you have chosen to restore the session. And we improved this now. If you now press yes, it will load all the applications as far as the state is stored that you had open before. And for example, you probably remember that we were in the process monitor and we pressed save to store it, and it has the previously selected process open like you left it, or in the master data navigator, the application is open, the control center is open, and you still see that we have some data in there. Oops, now I closed the browser, I'm sorry. Let me just open it real quick again. And let me log in. Okay, now this was the portal auto session restore, which helps a lot. For example, also when you do a rolling update and people are logged out when they are not at their desk because of a certain timeout, the session will be killed. And when they come back, they can continue where they were before. So let's go to user management now, which is under administration. And one of the features that we got a request a lot was auto locking of people that have not logged in since a long time. So like, for example, if a user did not log in for a month, he will probably not need this service. So the user will be locked, and next time he wants to log in, he has to go through the unlock process, depending on how you have implemented. It might be automated, might be something that you have, for example, a self-service in CMA, or just the email and ticket system. And what we did here is make this capability configurable. So when you go to organization, select your organization, and then go to policy management. In the lower right, you can now define after how many days an inactive user is locked. And of course, there's also other settings in there, which we will not go into detail there, but this allows you to keep your system cleared, and you can then easily filter on locked users and maybe reorganize them. And speaking of exactly that, now it's easy for dialog users because they will inform you, but there's also system users which you might use, for example, for authentication on FTP or some web service or whatever. And maybe you want to be informed not by the end user that says your service is not running, but you want to be informed by the system. So let me just search for lock. I have a locked demo user here, so let me real quick unlock it. And when it happens that the system user is locked, we can simulate it here and say, okay, inactivity, for example, or let's take too many wrong passwords, and you press save. This will automatically trigger an event which will inform all administrators on your system or organization, depending on whether you're a provider use case or you're a delegate admin. You will get a notification after a certain time, and you can configure how often this is checked via the scheduler, system tasks. You can just look for UMS. And then there's this system user lock job, and let's execute it. Test and press OK. You see you get this notification up here. When you click on it, you see that there is a warning and that system user was locked. And this then allows you to go to the accounts, select the status locked, and there you see we have 2 locked users, 1 dialog user and 1 system user. And you can react on that, or even, for example, if you get a mail, do some automation and unlock them in a certain way, or trigger processes to delete them, and so on and so on and so on. All right, so this was a broad overview over the 10 features I wanted to show you. There's not just small ones, but as I said, you valued those demos. So if you find it helpful, just give us feedback and we will continue doing it. Otherwise, we'll try to concentrate on bigger features in the future. So I would like to use the opportunity to ask you, Ulf, are there some questions which we can react on, or shall I continue?
No, I think you should continue. As you all can see, we do listen. We have done a lot of improvements, we believe. And again, as Michael, as you said, Michael, it's important to provide feedback. So it may be a lot to consume now in this session, but please feel free to get back to us on what Michael just demonstrated. So please continue, Michael.
Okay, here we go. So where are we going in terms of user experience? So one of the, let's say, most wanted features that we got hand on was the view all. So people love the possibility to, let's say, avoid the logical system restriction in the application. So you have to select the logical system you want to go in there, open the process monitor, for example, and see that. And we have a lot of customers that are in the provider use case, and they requested to get this view all again, so they do not have to switch tabs or switch logical systems or even accounts. And if they're in the provider use case and have the right permission, then they can see infos across multiple logical systems. And this also plays into the cards of our advanced search, which allows you to define complex searches, which would be very time consuming. And this will then trigger an asynchronous search and will notify you once the search is done, and maybe also give you more results than the web UI is capable of displaying. And then you can interact with that. So this goes hand in hand. And in terms of other user experience parts, the dashboard is one of the other features which we were not anticipating that it was used that often, which is basically a broad overview of how much processes were running overall, how many errors did you have, and also having the possibility to interact, for example, with the process engine and just deactivate or bring it into training mode. and also have a look at the metrics of a certain instance. So this all will come back. So yeah, stay tuned. Maybe I can show you something in January already. Latest somewhere in April will be a fun thing to demo. So let's jump into integration capabilities. The BIS file transfer server will do a demo, yeah, in just a minute, which was formerly known as the mailbox, and basically it's a unified multi-communication adapter with 162, which is the last release in Q3. We will still be in ramp up, but we will have a final general available somewhere in between 162 and 166. In January, we'll know. I will tell you which version it was. In terms of method tracking, we already heard something about the file viewer. We also allow to integrate external file viewers if you need that for your scenario, which is basically a REST or HTTP call, which will be enhanced with the attachments to be shown. We have a lot of customers that requested that, so you can add an extra button, for example, in the attachment area, and then just send it to the external application, store it somewhere, and open the editor with the services provided from that editor. In the BIS mapping runtime, and this is the last one I want to get into on this slide, we have reached a new milestone in terms of CI/CD capabilities. So a lot of you said it's great that you can do Maven runs and do unit tests and stuff like that, but it would be good if we have a report. Can you generate one? And we had a look into it, and we thought, why we just don't want to reinvent the wheel, and therefore we sticked to Surefire reports, which you can open in the IDE, and there's a lot of plugins, if not in the default plugins in build infrastructures, like for example in Jenkins or in a Git environment or whatever build infrastructure you're using. And even if you're doing it, so to speak, in a manual fashion, the Surefire reports can be just downloaded and opened in our developer studio, and then you see the results in a more human readable way rather than browsing through an XML file or a log file. All right, and that brings us directly.
Michael, sorry to disturb you. Before you go on, just a quick one. There was a question, there are two here. Maybe we can cover. First of all, when is the view all? We have it as part of the to be, but can we tell more about the view all functionality expected to be delivered, or?
So it's planned to be started in this quarter. So we already started with doing things. I do not have an ETA on the end. The big portion is not the implementation. It's more like the QA part, because we have to make sure that only people that are allowed to see this data can see it, and then it's easy to configure, and that we do not have a leak somewhere in other applications. So
yeah,
please allow us a time till the next quarterly to give you an ETA. I don't have it at hand at the moment.
No problem. No fair. I suggest that whoever asked this question also to go through your account and/or technical account manager so we can clarify this and explain further. So yeah, please go ahead, please.
You said you have two questions.
No. The other one is probably related to what's happening soon. So go ahead.
Okay, so let's again jump into our product. Now, BIS file transfer server, just give you a small introduction. So a lot of times it happens when you go to the master data navigator and you're working on partner connections, that you have partners that are communicating with you with multiple protocols, but for the same scenario. So what we did is we used the MFT scenario and had a look at the most commonly used protocols, which is SFTP, FTP, REST, and of course our BISLink, and put them together in one single master data. So let me just go to the file transfer accounts, and this account aggregates all of those. So you can enable which of those protocols you want to be communicating over, and you are setting up a customer within UMS and then link those together with this master data configuration. So you can just click and select, okay, with the partner, in this case, MTE BIS FTS. I communicate via REST and SFTP, and then do all the settings here. So you do not have to jump in between all the other master data. You can just click it together. And the beauty of that is when you react on something that is coming in, for example, via FTP or via SFTP, you can do that with a single process. Let me just search for the processes. Oh, sorry. MTE BIS FTS, and then details. And then we take the main process. And if you open that, you see the criteria is now from our file transfer server, and then you have an initiated via upload, and then you can react on each and every step. So if you look, for example, at the operations that are permitted is upload, then also when someone downloads something, when a file is deleted, when a file is renamed, or when a file is removed. And then you can, just react in a agnostic fashion. So you don't care whether it's coming via SFTP or FTP or REST. You just react on that communication request. And the demo that we have set up is there is a file that is sent into an upload folder, and then we just use this SFTP send internally to move it from the upload folder to the download folder. And let's just directly jump into it. So I have created a connection via FTP and one via SFTP. And so we're now the SFTP one. So let's just drag and drop the file into data upload. You see it's directly consumed. And let's go to FTP and drop the FTP one in there, again, directly consumed. And I said that there's FTP and SFTP. So let's check via REST what happened. Therefore, we go to our API manager and then select the REST interface that we have in there and just use the query tests. We put it to data download, send request. And now we see that we have some entries in there. One is the uploaded via SFTP with some metadata in there when it was set there. So there you have some attributes there, size, parts, and stuff like that. And you have the possibility to download it here, to move it, to initiate processes, and so on. And for sure, you as an administrator don't want to use REST or maybe an SFTP or an FTP controller. You want to use an application to see whether things were going the right way or what files are existing. And therefore, we created the so-called file transfer browser. You as an administrator can open that. You see the accounts and the grouping in there. And when you double click on that, you see, maybe it looks familiar, the data uploads, download to delete, and data download sessions that we had in our SFTP and FTP session. And if you go to data download, you see that those two files are in there. And when we download them from here, let's open that real quick. You see that we have the FTP one, which was uploaded via FTP. So it's agnostic to the customer and it's not protocol specific, and you can work with that and set up your services around this feature. So this is just a short glimpse. There will be some more. You probably have seen in the Master Data Navigator that this link support is coming soon. So stay tuned. Maybe there will be some more features in the January session of the quarterly updates. All right.
Yeah, Michael, the question was more related to what is the difference between CFX and the BIS file transfer server?
That would be quite a huge story. So please go ahead.
Short if you can. Short if you can.
So basically, the CFX is a standalone tool where you can do, for example, also SFTP and FTP uploads and create upload and download permits. And this file transfer server is more concentrating on the harmonization and aggregation of certain protocols for a certain customer or individual. So the one is more oriented on integration. The other one is more on file transfer in a generic way, if we can say it like that.
Okay, let's stop there. And then again, whoever asked this, please follow up with us if you want to understand more, and we can follow up as well. So I think the person is okay with that answer. So let's continue. Thank you. Thank you both. So yeah, cool.
Okay, so integration capabilities. So this slide did not change that much. There's just two. No, all of them are very time consuming in terms of implementation and testing. So the two highlights are the ones that is about the Microsoft Graph API for mail support and the debugging support in the BIS mapping runtime. So stay tuned. In January, latest in April next year, we have more details on that. In the technology advantage, that's kind of like a running gag already within our group. So we have a new Java runtime, but it's very important for you to know that we keep or we are working on security and take that very seriously. We upgraded to the latest security update, which is Zulu 21.36.18 SA. And of course, you know that all other security-related topics are in our release notes and change log if you need to look into that or forward it to your security departments. In terms of user management, we brought up support for SCIM version 2. So SCIM stands for System Cross-Domain Identity Management. So basically what this allows is a standardized interface to interact with different user management systems. And with the support for SCIM v2, things like, for example, using Azure's Entra ID or the AWS user management to manage the users within your BIS from the external application without having to interact with user management at all. And in terms of the platform, one of the, let's say, not most criticized, but really a lot of people just in the context of cloud requested that they do not want to have the database credentials, although they are encrypted on the file system available for administrators. They want to have an integration with HashiCorp, and therefore we implement that. So you can now store your database passwords in a HashiCorp vault and use that for the runtime to be authenticating against your desired database. Also in the case of cloud-native databases like, for example, PostgreSQL in Azure or Aurora and so on, or LODB in GCP. Let's go to the technology improvement statement of direction. Now, we heard about BISLink being added to the BIS transfer server, and therefore we need to finalize the technology harmonization. So once BISLink is in there, you can use it as well in that scenario. In user management, we're looking into OpenID and OpenID Connect and also OAuth2 in the context there, whether to provide it on our system or just having a login module still needs to be decided, but it's something that is on the roadmap. Of course, the support for system databases, you already heard about HashiCorp, but there's also other authentication methods, also in the context of cloud-managed databases. So Azure Active Directory is one requested part, and also Kerberos for the on-premises world to be used there. Let's jump to operational cost reduction. And here I want to highlight the SEEBURGER support agent, which is now able to collect, but only on demand or optionally, configuration files. So if you need that for your support case, you don't have to manually search for the configuration file, so you can just tick an option, and the SEEBURGER support agent will collect them from your system, and you can then upload it within the zip file. So the developer that looks into it or the support agent on the SEEBURGER side can directly check it with just click of a button collection. We already talked about the automatic logging and notifications in user management, and in terms of the process engine, there is now an increased amount of info variables, which allows you to define customer-specific information that you can show in the process monitor, and also address them in your custom implementations, for example, if you have a custom solution. And that already brings us to the next live demo, which is BIS Mapping Designer Automated Testing. The main feature that we have implemented there is the Surefire report. I already mentioned that, but I just want to show you how this thing looks, what capabilities you have, and what options you have there. So before I jump into there, are there already some questions to the previous slides?
No, I think we're good for now. Please continue with the demo. Yeah.
So the product you're just seeing is the BIS Mapping Designer within our development studio, and I already opened a so-called mapping regression testing catalog. And with this testing catalog, you can define test cases, not only for mappings, but also for simple compares. So for example, you might have an integration test that bootstraps a BIS and then writes some files somewhere, because you do not want to only compare mappings, but you want to have the results from real processes, or even compliance checks. So our compliance check module, you can put them all into a certain catalog that might be addressing a scenario or a certain package, or whatever use case you have there. And today we want to concentrate on the mapping part, which allows you to do some really fancy things. So the first thing was that you can create a Surefire report. And to show you that, when you run, let me just run that real quick. When you run the Maven plugin, which I just do, that's the technical part that normally runs on your build system, then it will run through your mappings depending on what you have configured, and then we'll create a Surefire report. And this report can be loaded. Okay, seems like the server connection is working. Ulf, do you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. No, I just got a network connection error. That's why I just wanted to ask whether I'm still here.
Yeah, no worries.
And then in the target folder under Surefire reports, you get, for each package that you have defined, you get a report. And when you double click on that, download it, for example, from a build server and put it into the development environment, it will open that in the JUnit test view. And there you see, okay, there were some errors in test run, compare run 1 and 2 and 3. And there you see the details of it. And you, in the build server, for example, could react on that rather than having to parse through a non-standardized log file. We're just using the open standard of Surefire. And that sounds kind of like, okay, now I have to write JUnit test. How does this work? So basically, you're just defining your test case in this catalog. And then in the catalog, you have the possibility to run the tests within the IDE, or you can say generate test code. So you do not have to touch the code there. You just use this, let's say, high-level viewer here, and without knowing how to write Java or how to interact with Maven, you can generate test code and then commit it to your build infrastructure or run it in the IDE, depending on how your development environment is looking like. And every time you're doing a commit or even on demand, can run those tests and then ensure that your use cases that you are in your test cases that you have defined are not affected by changes or new mappings. So you can be sure that this works. Now, if we look at, for example, this compare run now, it says there's difference in file ref4 at line 3. So let me do real quick run a test internally. So this would be the view if you run it internally. And if you double click on that, it directly jumps to the test case. And then you can have a look into the properties and see which files are affected, what mapping was involved. And in this case, it says ref4, there was a change. And as I prepared this error, I know what we had to change. So let's run it again. And there you see all the 12 test cases that were defined are now running through. Everything is good. And now I can manually create a deployment zip or commit my stuff to the build server where there may be more test cases defined. And so you can ensure that only tested mappings and tested compliance checks, and also processes hit your production or your integration testing or your user acceptance testing system. So there's a lot of options that you can define. It would be a really long session. So just to give you a glimpse, you have the possibility to define input parameters. You can mock a database. You can simulate output parameters. You can select between different comparison methods and stuff like that. But I would say this would kind of be too much for this session. I just wanted to give you a small glimpse of what it is capable of. If you're interested in a deep dive session, go ahead, use the survey, and we will be more than happy to do a BIS 6.7 in action or meet the expert to address those needs, or even do an individual session with you if you have certain questions. All right, let's jump back into our PowerPoint and continue with the presentation. Now, in terms of operational cost reduction, I just repeat myself, sorry, but it was really requested a lot of the time. So we have a lot of master data that needs maybe redundant configuration, or maybe it's not that clear for a starter that just start, no, I mean a junior that started at the company, to what he should set or he or she should set in the creation of master data. And so we're looking into how we can allow to define default values for certain master data, and yeah, do not pass on the burden to configure it every time for your employees. There is already a concept with wizards, but people told us it would be much more appreciated to have no wizard, but going into create new and then have the default set there for certain user groups. So we're looking into how we can achieve that. In the platform itself, there is this transition from, for example, on-premise system to a cloud system, and maybe do that in a step-by-step fashion. So the request was to allow to migrate a certain logical system or a certain tenant from one system to another, just in the context of the let's say cloud to ground migration. No, the other way around, ground to cloud migration. And if we jump into deployment models, now the main thing that we want to report here is BISFX. So there was a change in terms of the Windows client distribution enhancement. So it's now possible to define and do the distribution via the file exchange admin console. And it's also possible now to update clients via the BIS system update process. And speaking of the BIS, before we had separated BISFX installations and BIS installations, and we did not allow to install the BISFX role within an existing BIS. This has changed now with the 6.7 version. Now it's possible to install the BISFX within an existing integration BIS, for example, and have everything in one system. And statement of direction. Of course, we're working on supporting more and more cloud-native DB variants and also authentication methods. And in terms of dynamic and elastic scaling, the process engine is something that we still have to look into. If you're interested in a demo or a deep dive session, again, feel free to write it into the survey, and we will do what we can to give you the information or do a public session. And that being said, we're at the end of the slide deck, and Ulf, I'd like to hand over again back to you.
Yeah, sure. I don't think we have anything more. I think you've covered. I mean, obviously the first demonstration was quite long, but good, and maybe we'll get some feedback later on. I hope so. I think, yeah, this was the fourth session this year. Obviously, we're not done yet with this year, and I'm sure you're all busy. We will continue in the same way. We may change a bit, and given the fact that we're introducing feature and functionality into the platform, but overall we plan to keep this format for next year as well. And the first one, as you can see, is planned for January 22nd, so you're all very welcome. I think already now there should be a way to sign up to all these sessions, so please do. Then you will definitely not miss it. And as you know, as I mentioned before, you'll get all the material anyway, and please share that with your colleagues as well. We're spending, other than technology, so to say, we spend time on informing you, our clients, around what we are doing. We also want you clients to interact with each other. So there is kind of a new face to the SEEBURGER community. For those of you who have been using this before, you've probably seen that it changed, and we are improving here as well to make sure that you feel a better experience working with us. So if you haven't signed up, please feel free to do that as well. Follow the link and be part of the community, and to share ideas, whatever it is that you may run into from a technology perspective working with SEEBURGER. Yes, I think that's it for today. We will end a little bit earlier. Michael has reminded you, I will remind you as well, other ideas. If you think whatever was good was bad, if you want to have more demonstration around certain topic, please feel free to add that into the survey. I think that's it. Thank you very much, Michael. I think we're done for today, and looking forward to interact with all of you again soon. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone.
Next time, have a great day.
Take care.